A new study shows that Neanderthals were real-life orcs, and they were terrifying. Huge, hulking beasts with thick fur, cat-like eyes, and physical strength far greater than any Homo sapien. Their bones were much heavier than ours to support their enormous muscular strength. Their limbs were stocky, their noses were large and broad, their jaws were designed for eating meat, any meat, even each other's.
The amount of Neanderthal DNA on Earth is increasing. Many people, including me, white ones, have up to 4% of our DNA that can be traced back to Neanderthals. And since the human population has now passed 8 million people, statistically there is more Neanderthal DNA from people like me who...
And in fact, the Africans who came out from Africa have no evidence of any Neanderthal genes in them. No evidence of admixture. So they're the real pure humans.
One of these things is not like the others. One of these things doesn't belong. Can you tell which thing is not like the others? Before I finish my song. Now I'm gonna sing, you look. Doo-doo-doo.
And in fact, the Africans who came out from Africa have no evidence of any Neanderthal genes in them. No evidence of admixture. So they're the real pure humans. Now, really, this is going to sound silly, but this is really, really important cutting-edge genetics. One of the areas I'm really lucky I'm blessed to work in 3 distinct areas of biology: immunology, genetics, and reproduction. And on the genetics side, I get to go to conferences and hear about advances in genetics in all species. And I was just at one a couple of weeks ago down at the Cold Spring Harbor Lab in Long Island, and I learned a bit about what's being known about the genome of Neanderthals, the genetic makeup of Neanderthals. The genome sequencers, led by Svante Pabo, who works in Germany, has taken tiny little fragments of Neanderthal bones, isolated DNA, and determined the genome of the Neanderthal, and used that information to determine, using genetic methods, how long ago Neanderthals and humans were a single species, where the common ancestor was. And they've also been able to compare human genomes and ask the question of whether there's any evidence of Neanderthal genes in the human genome. And they found that there is. And the amount is quite significant, upwards of 5 to 7%. Neanderthals used to live in the Neander Valley. It's, you could have called it the Cayuga Lake Basin, but that's where they lived. And out of Africa came the modern humans. And out of Africa came the modern humans.
And out of Africa came the modern humans.
And the word the geneticist uses, admixed. They admixed with the Neanderthals. And they all used to live in caves in those days like this. And they all used to live in caves in those days like this.
And they all used to live in caves in those days like this.
Came out of Africa, admixed with the Neanderthals. This was Neanderthal territory. There was another group of Neanderthal-like creatures, Neanderthal-like creatures.
Neanderthal-like creatures, like creatures.
Called the Denisovans. They lived up here in Siberia, and they have their genome has been sequenced. They were distinct from the Neanderthals. And so you can find in people of European and Asian ancestry evidence of about 7%, 5 to 10% of your genome is common with that of Neanderthals. We've been separated from them for 30,000 years or so. And in some of the tribes in Papua New Guinea and those islands out there, there's evidence for a different kind of genome, which is probably the Denisovan genome. And they might have 7% Neanderthal and 5% Denisovan. So they might be 12 or 15% different from us. And in fact, the Africans who came out from Africa have no evidence of any Neanderthal genes in them. No evidence of admixture. So they're the real pure humans. And in fact, the Africans who came out from Africa have no evidence of any Neanderthal genes in them. No evidence of admixture. So they're the real pure humans. So they're the real pure humans. So they're the real pure humans. So they're the real pure humans.
So they're the real pure humans.
Homo sapiens. Really, really interesting, and it gives you a lot to think about.
Before Edomites were born, God hated them. Had nothing to do with idol worship. Before they were born, like in Rome.
Yeah, but that's I mean that comes down to predestination and a lot of other things.
Well, that's y'all people though. That's where you descend from. So in Romans the 9th chapter, when he says, "For the children being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, but that the purpose of God according to election."
I mean, I don't. So you're basically flipping identity Christianity on its head. Like you're just like the guys who claim like a black man's the descendant of Shem and is like the mark of whatever. Like I don't accept that.
I don't know about no mark, but we are the descendants of Israel, the true ones. You guys are the descendants of Esau. So in Romans the 9th chapter, it clearly says,
"No, I'm the descendant of Caucus marauders who
that's where Edom comes from,
who mastered equestrian and conquered the Central Asian and European landmass."
Got you. Where did Esau dwell? Do you know? The whole Caucus that you just said, that's Edom. Esau was a cave dweller. He dwelt in the Caucasus.
He came in the Near East. He may have been, but it wasn't the Caucasus. It was in the Near East. Okay. It was in what would now be in proximity to Mount Ararat and all that.
Right. So
that's not like a Caucasus. That's what we consider the Middle East.
Yeah. When you read Obadiah, it says, "The pride of thy heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock." He was known as a cave dweller in the Bible, and you guys call yourselves cave dwellers today. That's the Caucasus Mountain.
The Caucasus is
the Caucasus.
It's not caves.
The Caucasus Mountain. That's where y'all came out the mountains mad as shit too.
I feel like the fact that there is such a huge difference between Africans and Asians, even the dark Asians, yeah. So it's not even really about just the whole melanin or skin color or whatever. It's not even just about that. That whole contrast of the difference between us, I and I, yeah, it really does come from mixing of the other species that were apparently on this planet. Now, I also do believe in aliens, so I do have another theory that, personally speaking, I do believe that Asians and Caucasians have got mixed from an alien species of some sort. Because why do you lot get skin cancer and all of this stuff? Very predominantly, why? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, why would this earth and the sun that was literally made for this earth bring you ill health? Do you see what I'm saying? Why would you need to protect yourself from it so much? But the original humans, the original Africans, yeah.
Everything predicted in their blood seems to be written in their faces. It's like looking at a composite model of every face from around the world. The eye shape of East Asians, the high cheekbones of Mongolians, the mid-brown skin that could turn darker or lighter.
So the San, also called Bushmen, and these are very ancient people whose history in southern Africa is perhaps 40,000 years old or more. Probably older than that. I would suspect more like 100,000 years. And now, 10 or 15 years ago, showing this image, I would have said that that they look like East Asians, like Chinese, like Koreans, etc. But now I would say that East Asians look like them. And there's a good reason for that, because these folk like this are the original people of Africa and Asia, or at least very ancient people. And then we see something very similar with this San woman right here. And this is interesting because it shows that not all black people are dark. Some black people are naturally light-skinned. It has nothing to do with racial intermingling. Again, we're talking about the original man, the original woman, original humanity, black coming out of Africa.
The Nile River, which we came down, flows from south to north. See, we came down the river.
That's why when they tell you that the River Nile, that before they used to teach us in school, that hopefully they don't know more, that the River Nile originated from Egypt, because they wanted to keep the lie that the map was the other way around, because as you can see in this map, it's the correct way. Africa is actually on top, and Europe, etc., and Asia and all of that is underneath. Yeah? Anyway, so Uganda, the River Nile actually starts from Uganda. Big up Ugandans. And then it ends in where? Egypt. Yeah? But because the map's turned around the other way, the wrong way, yeah, because you know how it is, like, so I'm saying, like, people think that, you know, we're just being anal about talking about race all the time as black people, but it's just because of the fact that, history has been rewritten, whitewashed, absolutely ridiculous, and just because we want the truth to be out, it doesn't mean we're being hateful. Do you understand? We just want the truth to be out.
Came up the river. So when we came down in this direction, we looked at this as the bottom. This is the bottom. And see, a lot of the ancient fossils is in the Central East region of Africa, but they left this region and went south before they came down north. You'll find a lot of ancient artifacts in South Africa. So they went south before they came north. And so all these civilizations down here, even India, they got enough nerves to act like they as ancient as Africa.
Everything predicted in their blood seems to be...
Yahweh came on this earth and grafted these white people from a laboratory to deal with us.
Say again.
Yahweh, Jacob. He came, lived as a man, and created these white people from a laboratory.
The white people?
If you say it in Europe, they will kill you.
We are in Ghana.
Yeah.
So explain.
They were created from a laboratory.
How?
They themselves. You see, there's no any clear evidence for somebody to give it to you, but when we do research and we put the pieces together, you see, one, their genealogists have come out to say that white people originate from animals through Neanderthals, but black people have always been human beings. We have the original Adam gene in us, but theirs is from Neanderthals. We are the Homo sapiens, but they are Homo erectus. So Charles Darwin's theory that human beings evolved from animals, they told him only white people, not black people. And if I want to compare their human anatomy to ours, you realize that no, these people are photocopied. According to some school of thought, Yahweh came on this earth and grafted these white people from a laboratory to deal with us.
Say again.
Yahweh, Jacob. He came, lived as a man, and created these white people from a laboratory.
In this video today, we're going to talk about how white tea people are GMO humans and they're genetically spliced from a black person. From your blacks and Latinos and your 9-meter Anunnaki race. Before we get into this metaphysical, quantum physical science and spiritual, ancient, esoteric truth, before I get into the science of these genetics, I just want to start with the right energy of this class and session in this lecture by saying peace to the gods and goddesses of planet Kai, peace to all the high vibrational human beings, peace to all the ancestors, and peace to all the elder and the younger starseeds watching and listening, tuning into this very powerful lecture and message. Let's get straight into it, y'all. And before we really expose how long their genetics go back and how it lines up with religion and all these stories of religion lines up with science, genetics, quantum physics, and metaphysical physics, and all these pictures and all this evidence and all these definitions of everything, I'm gonna literally show you awareness of what our genetics are and how we're different species. So when you look at the definition of a human, it'll literally tell you a human being, especially a person that's distinguished from an animal or an alien. It's literally telling you that they're mixed with animals and an alien. And if you want to know what animals they're mixed with dogs, wolves, sheep, and pigs. And here's my proof. To look up pictures on the internet about hairy people, all you're gonna find is white tea people that look like monkeys, dogs, wolves, sheep, and pigs. Why do you think it is that the Black Panthers started calling them pigs and we started calling them that because that's what they are. Just that, but I know y'all heard the saying, when a white tea person sweats, they smell like dogs. Why do you think that is? Because that's genetics. There's a reason why carbonated beans, meaning your blacks and Latinos, have green veins, gamma rays running through them, because the gamma rays is the same thing that the sun's made out of, and we're the sun people. Later in this video, I'm going to show you proof on how Kemet in Egypt literally means land of the sun people, which is black and Latino people. We can observe the sun. They clearly cannot. That's why they turn red and burn and all types of stuff in the sun. And that's why they have blue veins, because they're cold-blooded animal creatures like dogs, wolves, sheep, and pigs. And if that ain't enough proof, well, let me tell you how the story of religion is really the story about how they were made and how they were genetically spliced 6,000 years ago. And here's my proof. All this is about to line up, so listen up. This is key. This whole information is literally about to quantum jump this whole realm, and we're all about to be aware of the spiritual warfare that we're under. Light magic that we're under, that Satan has putting us all under. Because yeah, Satan also created them, and I'm going to show you my proof and evidence later on this road now. Satan literally created the white tea race. And Satan was her brother. Satan was a reptilian, half-black carbonated being. A reptilian carbonated being. What do you think it is that the people that run this with the 13 elites of the 13 blood royal bloodline? Because they don't share their bloodline with anybody else. They're all related, including all presidents. They're all related. You can look this up. But it says right here that it is the result of a genetic mutation, meaning splicing, somewhere between, it says, look, earlier argued that the blue eyes had appeared as a result of a genetic mutation somewhere between 10,000 and 6,000 years ago. Before that, all humans had brown eyes, which we all know who the brown-eyed people are, black and Latino people. But until a few years ago, most supposed that the appearance of white skin had occurred much earlier. The European gene pool with its light complexion was supposed to have deceptively split off from the also light-skinned East Asian gene pool, which we are the original Asiatics, and we did produce lighter shades of melanin until they came and they disrupted the genes and they made us become blue-eyed and white gene. But we used to be produced white-skinned with nappy and brown eyes until they came and genetic spliced that, which that's what they're saying, because they're Homo sapiens. And the definition of a Homo sapien is literally a dog, wolf, sheep, and pig. It's literally Neanderthal DNA mixed with animals, which are the human being race, which that's not us. We are made out of the sun, stars, and the whole universe, and I have videos on this already with this information. It even says right here that the white European person appeared way more recently, as if said 7,000 years ago. And it even says right here how the Spaniards are the Europeans, and the Spaniards and Europeans came out 7,000 years ago. You can read this whole article for yourself. I don't think it's a coincidence that all religions originated and are stolen knowledge off of Kemet and off of the Greeks and the Greek mythology, and all these stories of these ancient texts, the Bible texts and these ancient texts are all stolen off of Greek mythology and Kemet. Let me tell you how I know this, and I'm going to show you proof of this later down this video too. But literally all religion traces back to Greek mythology, and it's been here for 3,500 years. That's how much they tell you, which in reality has been here for 6,000 years. And the crazy part is, white tea people genetics trace back 6,000 years ago, 7,000 years ago, and religion traces back 3,000 through 6,000 years ago. So it's literally the story about their creation. Adam and Eve, that was never black and Latino people's names. Those are Greek names, English, Spaniard names. I showed y'all proof of that, and there's even more proof that their genetics line up with all religions. That's what the story of Zeus is about. The story of Zeus is about the creation of humans, and Jesus is about falling from 33 dimensions to the third dimension. That's why the Freemasons use the number 33. The Freemasons use the number 33 of 33 vertebrae in their spine. And the story of Jacob, Yakub, is the story about the human being creation 6,000 years ago. These are all different names of Satan, Yakub, Jacob, Zeus, and Jesus. And this is him. And it says it is a figure in the mythology of the Nation of Islam mythology, according to the Nation of Islam's doctrine. And there's a lot of truth in all these religions, but there's also mixed in with a lot of lies, because that's how Satan does. He manipulates the truth into making it a master manipulation. But this is the little bit of truth that's in it. Yakub was a black scientist who lived 6,600 years ago and began the creation of the white tea race through a form of selective breeding referred to as grafting. And all these stories and all these texts line up with that. And let me show you more proof. And for those that try to say black and Latino people are the real Hebrew Israelites, we're the real Greeks, bro, you are goofy, bro. Greeks were white. And all these stories of religion were the Greeks writing stories that they seen of hieroglyphics of command, the minds, and what black and Latino people were doing. We were never Hebrew Israelites. We were never English Spaniard people. All these things were colonized things that they gave us through watching us and observing us. And they stole this knowledge and they demonized our knowledge and used it against us. That's what Satan did. And here's my proof. It literally says that the Hebrew word and these Spaniard things are all Judeo-Spanish, which we all know who the Jews and the Spanish are. And it says right here that it's Hebrew, Arabic, Greek, Turkish, and French. Like, come on now. And this was there before being expelled in 1492. And the thing that they're not telling you is that they landed here in 1492. These white T race. They are putting us in a spell, making us think that they've been here longer than they've actually have been. And they've done this to us to make us forget the spiritual war that we're in, the physical war we're in. And here's my proof that Christianity and all these religions and all these Abrahamic religions, these New Age religions, have all been stolen knowledge off of our ancient knowledge. Ancient Egyptian religion and mythology have influenced many cultures, including modern ones, and have left behind many monuments and writings. Some religions, such as Christianity and Greek mythology, have been influenced by ancient Egyptian religion. Shortly after Jesus' death. Right. And look, there's more proof. More proof that this was all stolen knowledge, which describes how God created the world, plants, animals, and people. However, Egypt does play a role in Christianity, and some say that the religion roots come from Egypt. Beliefs Ahmed Osman's book Christianity and Ancient Egyptian Religion compares to the Old Testament to ancient Egyptian records suggest that Christians believe, like the Trinity, the one God and life after death originated in Egypt. Symbols. The Christian symbol of the cross is based on the ancient Egyptian symbol Ankh, which represents eternity or life and death. Early Christians, I can't really see what it says right here, but look at this. It says that even Egypt has been here for 400,000 years, and religion has only been here for 6,000 years. And we can see that religion has all been stolen knowledge and was heavily influenced by Egypt and Greek mythology. And Greek mythology was stolen off of Egypt, and so is all religions, because our religion has been influenced by Egypt and Greek mythology. And here's more proof. Now I'm gonna break down the difference, scientific, cosmetic difference between our genetics and the white tea people genetics. So they have something called pheomelanin, which is a reddish yellow sulfur-containing melanin pigment that gives color to hair, skin, and other parts of the body. Pheomelanin is responsible for red hair. Coloring people with more pheomelanin have redder hair. People with equal parts eumelanin and pheomelanin have red hair, while strawberry blonde hair has less pheomelanin. Exactly. It says right here that pheomelanin mutates. It has a mutation result of errors during DNA or viral replications, mitosis or meiosis, which is caused by exposure to ultraviolet radiation, meaning that this error happens when they take the sun. So even the sun says that their melanin is unnatural. And that's why they turn red and stuff in nature, because they're unnatural to the planet, because they have different genetics than us. We have neuromelanin, and neuromelanin gives off melatonin, and it is the base structure of all carbon, and 97% of carbon is neuromelanin, which that's what black and Latino people have. That's why melatonin is black, and it's associated with sleep, and the third eye produces it through melanin. Literally, melatonin is produced through carbon melanin, which is us. It even says right here that pheomelanin doesn't protect skin from UV radiation. So people with pheomelanin have a high risk of sun damage and skin cancer, and that's why everybody that's in Israel and the Middle East is burning right now, hiding in caves because of this, because that's the facts. That's the genetic science facts of what they are. So you don't want to believe me that white tea people have pheomelanin and we have neuromelanin, and they have the same pheomelanin that dogs, wolves, sheep, and pigs have? Well, here's your proof, including mammals. And keep watching, because I have way more proof than this, bro. I still got 10 more minutes left probably. Including mammals and birds that gives hair and feathers red and yellow colors. The amount of pheomelanin in an animal determines the intensity of its color. For example, domestic dogs can have a wide range of coat colors, from white to deep red, depending on how much pheomelanin they have. Who else has blonde and white and red? We know who. Anyways, let's keep it going. Other animals with pheomelanin include these great apes, have orange-red hair due to their high levels of pheomelanin. Sheep, goats, and llamas. What did I just say? Dogs, wolves, sheep, and pigs, and even llamas. The red color of these animals' wool comes from pheomelanin, while their black color comes from eumelanin, and eumelanin is neuromelanin. Here's my proof. It says right here that pheomelanin is red, blonde hair, and that color skin that tans poorly with freckles, and they can protect UV radiation. You can keep reading all this, but look at this. That was pheomelanin, and this is neuromelanin. A black pigment generated during catecholamine synthesis is ordinarily present in dopaminergic and noradrenergic nuclei in the substantia nigra, pars compacta, and the locus ceruleus. Neuromelanin provides neuroprotection from oxidative stress, blinding metal ions, especially iron. It literally says it's a black-brown pigmentation. And we all know that neuromelanin is 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, 6 protons, which makes up the whole carbon. And 97% of the universe is carbon, neuromelanin, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, 6 protons, carbon. That's why in their Bible, in their life creation, they demonize the 666 because they're demonizing us. And their religion and their genetics trace back 6,000 years ago. Meanwhile, our genetics trace back 9 billion years. But they'll only tell you that it goes back as far as 400,000 years ago. But it says, however, humans have lived in Egypt for much longer than 3000 BCE. And all the way around 400,000 years ago. That's how much they'll tell you, but they won't tell you 9 billion years because you'll start to connect all the dots. And they even color genetics ghost genetics because we've been here longer than the earth, and that makes us aliens. And when you look at the definition of a human, it literally says that it's made from an alien mixed with animals. And that's what the story of Yaqub, Jesus, and Jesus is all about. It's about the story of genetic splicing and the life creation. The story of Yaqub is literally an alien, reptilian, half black brother, half reptilian that was genetic splicing us with animals. So the story of Adam and Eve is really the story of the creation of the Greeks, Adam and Eve. And they stole this knowledge and information of the whole life creation about atoms and the mitochondria Eve gene off of Kemet. And same with the story of the Trinity and all these stories, bro. They all stole it off of Egypt, and you can look this up. If Egypt and Greek mythology had an influence on all religions, it'll tell you that they all did. All religions, not just Christianity or Catholicism, all religions. And I have a different video for another for another day. I have another video exposing all religions and how they're all the worship of Satan with proven evidence. And look at this. This is what they'll tell you when you look up how long have the European humans have been here. Black and Latinos have been here longer than 400,000 years. And it says right here that the modern humans, which we all know the definition of a human, it says in Europe dates back to around 4,000 years ago, while data from the Caucus Mountains, which that's what Caucasians are, they come from the Caucus Mountains, and the Near East only dates back around 14,000 years ago. See how they lie? How do you say that it's 4,000 and then 14,000 now? But it's all similar distance to religion. And look at this. How old is the Caucasian DNA? DNA recovered from ancient skeletons reveals that the genetic makeup of modern Europe was established around 4,000 to 6,000 years ago. The same amount of time as religion has been here. It even says right here that people with pheomelanin cannot protect against the UV damage. People with pheomelanin, eumelanin, people with lighter white skin do not have protection against the sun, UV radiation. And it can influence melanin production, include hormones, genes, and inflammation. So it can literally reverse it and mess it up. And it can trigger following exposure to UV radiation. It can do photochemic reactions capable of harming you. That's how the word Caucasian came to be. When you look up how did the name Caucasian came to be, it originally referred to the native people of the Caucasus region. The term was used by the German anthropologist Johann Blumenbach after visited the Caucasus Mountains and became enamored with the people's appearance. Blanchard believed they were created in God's image, which, why did I say the Greeks? All these religions and all these Greeks were watching the gods, the Egyptian gods and all these things of what they were doing, and they wrote the story about what they were observing off of them and they started writing their own creation story, and that's why in the Bible says, can we make men in our image? Can we make us in God's image? Who's us? It's plural. It's not talking about one God, it's many gods. And the Greeks were worshiping us and writing us about the things they've seen, and they created their own sky deity, and I'm going to show proven evidence of that right now. But that's why it says that they were created in God's image, because they were saying that they made us in under our image with Satan when he fell with his fallen angels. And it presents the ideal form of humanity. And literally telling you right there that 6,000 years ago they stole our image off of God, which is us, and they created their own ideal form of humanity. And then even it says right here that they had a larger head than other skulls that study, which you believe indicate a larger brain and therefore more superior being. No wonder why white people have been racist and have been trying to conquer us and be more superior than us. And it even says a system of racial classification was later made. And like I was saying, this story literally lines up with the story of Jacob, which is the story about genetic splicing. Let us make man in our image. Who's our? That's more than one God. That's plural. That's white people and Satan asking us to make them under our image. And then it says, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over the earth, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Who do you think they're talking about? Were they talking about having power over us and everything in nature? Y'all need to open your eyes and start seeing it with this eye and not these two eyes, because this is the first eye, not the third. It's the first eye. Y'all need to open your eye up. The God of eye. What's crazy is, in religion, everybody believes in the sky God, right? And it says Zeus is the god of the sky in ancient Greek mythology. As the chief Greek deity, Zeus is considered the ruler, protector, and father of all gods and humans. And that's what all religions follow, is Zeus. Zeus, Jesus, Jesus, Satan, Yakub, and Jacob, all different names that he goes under to confuse the whole world that he existed, in coincidence that it adds up to 6. Keep watching, because all this will line up to religion and Egypt. Look, Serapis was a Greco-Egyptian god of the sun, healing, fertility, in the underworld. And they always depict Jesus behind the sun, just like Serapis was. And people always depict God looking like Zeus and even Serapis. And watch, look at the story of Serapis. I'm about to go into it. He was originally a god of the underworld, but was later introduced a new deity with many Hellenic aspects. Serapis was developed by the Greek pharaoh, and this is part of his vision to unite his Egyptian and Greek subjects. Ptolemy popularized Serapis by combining elements gods such as Osiris and Zeus, and identifying him with Asclepius and Pluto. Serapis was worshipped with almost fanatical reverence in the sky, in the city on the borders of Egypt, and his cult later spread throughout the Roman Empire until it was banned. And look, keep watching. And look at this. Who is Serapis in the Bible? Early Christianity. Serapis was a supreme god, and it seems that some early worshippers of Christ among the Gentiles could have possibly worshipped Serapis either personally or conversant with Christ. Due to the confusion, it seems more likely to have been one of the language. So Serapis, Zeus, and Jesus is all the same person, and they look exactly alike. That's why Zeus, Jesus, and Jesus all sound the same, and it's literally the same depiction of a man, all three of them. And they were all stolen stories off of Egypt, and they remixed it and perverted it and made it into a man, into a savior, because they don't have a god. Because since they're not God, they had to worship a god outside of them to give him power. But we are all gods. Black and Latino people are all gods, and we have access to God within us. We don't need to worship anything outside of ourselves because we are God. And they wanted to be like us, so they made their own story. And this is more proof. Gradually, Serapis became revered not only as the sun god Zeus, Serapis, but also as the lord of healing and fertility. And we all know Christianity, know this comes from Rome and the Greeks and the Middle Eastern, because it even says right here that it was established in Rome and throughout the Mediterranean, following the trade routes and being particularly prominent in the great commercial cities. Meaning mainstream, which is but still the mainstream religions of the whole world. And Christianity means crush the unity. To crush the unity of the Black and Latino race. And look at this. Some people have claimed that the New Testament writers of Christianity borrowed qualities from Serapis, a Greco-Egyptian god, and applied them to Jesus Christ. For example, some people said that the myth Serapis Christus followed the same story as the New Testament narrative of Jesus Christ. However, Bible-believing Christians reject these claims because it's a cult, and Serapis was a cult, and Greek mythology was a cult, and this is also a cult. So whenever you speak out against it, they'll defend it with their whole life and try to force you into it. And look at this. It even says right here that Serapis and Zeus in Greek mythology and Christianity was all stolen off of Egypt. The cult of Serapis spread from Egypt to Greece and was very popular in Rome by the 1st century, remained the powerful religious force until the 4th century, and Christianity became the dominant religion. Proof right here. It's all interconnected. And then after Serapis, then became the new depiction of Jesus Christ to confuse more people, which is Caesar Borgia, who they used as the new depiction of Christ. This is my last video to show y'all proof from a white scientist himself who studies genetics about what they are.
This scenario,
Listen.
and what Nigel hypothesizes, is that really in the same way that I mess with organisms on plates, that these guys were messing with us as a species, really
Black
looking
people
for
were messing with
advantageous
them.
genetics. Not so much racism, as we said, you know, these things are running according to a program. They only care about whether they can mess with our genes more efficiently.
Genetic
It turns
splicing.
out that the molecule melanin, actually, you know, when we mess with genetics and stuff, one of the ways in which we can do it is to use things like ultraviolet light to actually
the sun.
splice the genes
Ultraviolet
into
is
cells
the
and
sun.
actually alter the genetics or to get things to, you know, things we
Alter
put in
means
to actually
genetic
take
splicing.
so that we can almost microsurgically implant them in the cells. The thing
GMO.
is, if these cells have got a lot of melanin in them, it's a dark pigment, it tends to absorb that light and diffract it and turn it into vibrations, etc. And
Black
then the
people
light just
genetics
doesn't get where it's really
turns to
supposed to go.
vibration.
And so really, in the discovery,
So the sun heals us.
perhaps even accidental, discovery of subspecies of us, if you like,
Subspecies.
or
GMO,
groups of us,
artificial.
which didn't express so much melanin, made it easier for them to get their genetic profiles into us, and therefore they then.
Hey yo, and just real quick, before I keep going in with these facts that I've been hitting y'all with facts after facts after facts about genetics and these cosmic scientific facts, let me just say something to you real quick that'll debunk white tea people and how I know they're GMO humans and we're not one human race and we're not interconnected with them. First of all, everything in the universe and in nature is 97% carbon, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, 6 protons, which could take on photon energy. Meaning that black and Latinos and nature is the same thing. We have the same genetics as plants, besides iron and magnesium, but we are made out of the same genetics, and we go through photosynthesis exactly how plants do. And everything that is carbon, that is the universe and nature, 97% carbon, that can take the sun, right? Everything and anything gives life and gives life to the sun and gets life from the sun. Why is it that white tea people cannot take the sun and they burn and turn red like this? Because they're literally unnatural to the natural light, and they're artificial. They're GMO, like I've been saying. They're genetically modified. They need artificial light. That is the reason why the moon is fake. And the moon was actually made for them so they can stay alive. Since they can't take unnatural light, they need artificial light. That's why they created the system with Satan, so they can keep living, because reptilians and Pleiadians and gray aliens and white tea people cannot live under the sun besides black and Latino people, because we're the most ancient alien extraterrestrial beings. Under CIA documents, we're labeled as metaphysical. Under CIA documents, Malcolm X literally exposed that we're labeled as black extraterrestrial metaphysical chaos beings. That is the reason why wolves love the moon. And that is the reason why white tea people have dogs, wolves, sheep, and pigs, and they need that artificial light, because they're unnatural. They're cold-blooded, blue-veined creatures just like animals are, that need artificial light like wolves. And they're colonizers just like wolves. Dogs, wolves, sheep, and pigs, they don't know how to just be on their own stuff. They're always colonizing. And blacks and Latinos are more like reptilian-type genetics. Or reptile, I should say, because we're not reptilians, but we have reptile, like Komodo dragon-type genetics, because we're always on our own stuff, always in our own land, doing our own thing in the sun. Meanwhile, they're always cold-blooded, always hunting and colonizing other things and traveling other places. But anyways, back to the Caesar Borgia dude, or whatever his name is, Caesar Borgia, right? They went from Serapis to Zeus, the depiction of God, into this new man-made Jesus, and they made it into a person, the creation of God, the incarnation of God in the physical, and they switched it to this guy to confuse more people, and so people forget, especially blacks and Latinos, where all this Serapis and Zeus thing all come from and what it stems from, which was forced onto our people. And anybody that didn't accept that Serapis or Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, they would have their heads literally decapitated. And you can even see that if you look it up. If you look up Serapis, it'll tell you that he is the pusher of Christianity, and anybody that didn't believe in him, that was in Kemet, like I showed you earlier, like that they were in Egypt, they would chop off their heads if they didn't believe in their cult. And these are cosmic facts, family. I showed y'all all the evidence and scientific proof and all the pictures and everything, proving y'all all this. And I got more proof. Look. Some people say that the blonde Jesus looks like Leonardo da Vinci's lover, Caesar Borgia, earliest known image of Jesus Christ from the Coptic Museum of Cairo, Egypt. This is what's crazy. Caesar Borgia was an Italian noble who served as a cardinal in the Catholic Church, and after his retirement, a soldier for hire. He lived from 1475 until 1507. And I like how a lot of things are related to the 1400s, and I've been saying that they came in the 1400s, not 6,000 years ago. They lied and made it seem like they've been here for a long time, and they just got here, they just landed here. But literally, he lived from 1475 until 1507. He is most famous for being a member of the powerful Borgia family and inspiration for Niccolo Machiavelli's political treatise. And Niccolo Machiavelli will write a lot about faking his death. And look at what happened with Tupac and Jesus. They all did the same thing of faking their death, or you know what I'm saying? Like, it's all about resurrection and all this type of stuff. And Machiavelli would write about that, and Caesar Borgia has something to do with that. It's so interconnected. Y'all see how I'm connecting all these dots? And this is what's crazy about the story of Zeus, that he was sleeping with the human beings, and that's what happened with Yakub. Yakub started kidnapping black women and black children, and he started genetic splicing them, and he had them, he was sleeping with the human beings. The Moors, the blacks that betrayed us, the fallen angels and Satan, they were all sleeping with the human beings, and they were giving them the knowledge and magic. And while they were also kidnapping them and genetic splicing black and Latino women with them, and they were sleeping with them, so they can break down the genetic splicing of our carbon into different shades of colors to separate us into Latin Americans, Native Americans, African Americans, Mexican Americans, and Chicano Americans, which these are all Spaniard colonized names, and they did that on purpose when they separated us through genetic splicing, and they put labels on us to separate us, divide us, and put us in fear, because those are the tactics of Satan and his children. Literally, that's why can we make God in our image, and he was talking about Satan and his creations. And the early religions are the story of their creation and also the knowledge of our creation as well. It's a bunch of metaphysical, quantum physical codes of their life creation and our life creation that they mixed in together to confuse us and get us to think that we're all one human race and that their life creation is similar to ours, and they used our knowledge to put that to confuse our magic and our truth, to mix it in and divide people. Especially the black and Latino race, Christianity crushed the unity. And then look at this about how Christianity was influenced by Greeks and the Egyptians. Jesus' traditional iconography may have been influenced by Mediterranean deities like Zeus, Hermes, Asclepius, and Serapis. Birthday: Jesus' traditional birthday, December 25th, was originally a holiday honoring the Roman sun god Sol Incubus. And Jesus was also stolen off of the ancient god Amen-Ra, which was the summoned god. That's why his name's Amen, and people say Amen. When you think you're worshiping Jesus and you say Amen, you're worshiping a different deity. There's a bunch of deities you're worshiping, which is all really Satan. Besides the Amen god, sun god Amen-Ra, they just added that in there to make some truth into lies, to confuse you and worship deities that don't exist. And Amen-Ra does exist, but he's not a deity to worship. He's just an ancestor that you can use through you, right? Early Christians, because God doesn't worship anything outside of him or herself, but early Christians use religious artifacts from the Greco-Roman pantheon, such as clay, figurines, stone statues, and incense altars. And people try to say that altars are demonic, but people that are in religion all use altars, literally. But theology, non-Platonism influenced early Christianity, which led to a more intellectualized, Greek-feeling Christian theology. And this all Western philosophy, civilizations that were all brought here by the Spaniard Greeks, Roman Greeks, facts. And black people are not the Israelites, and we're not the Greeks. We were never Hebrew Israelites, we were never Greeks, we were never Jewish. We were always pharaohs, and we were always native and Indians, and we always came in all tribes around the whole world, and we were all one tribe, one world people, for real, for real. We are the creators and the originals of everything, but that's for a different video. And look, Greek mythology exerted a notable influence on the early development of Christianity. Here are some ways which this influence can be observed. First, Greek mythology explored concepts such as creation, divine intervention, heroism, and the interaction between gods and humans. What have I been saying this whole time? It's about literally gods mixing their genetics with humans, and that's what the human definition is. It is animal genetics, mixed animal genetics made from an alien, aka God, because we've been here 9 billion years and the earth has only been here 4 billion years. So we are God, we are the creator of all things and everything. Facts. Therefore, biblical stories and Greek mythology have many similarities. Both have the stories of the creation of the human. In particular, the 3 examples that have the closest similarities are the creation of the woman, how God's punish those that don't worship them and reward those who worship them in the kingdom of God. Facts. And look at this. Greek mythology is believed to have originated from centuries of the oral tradition in the Bronze Age, and some of its myths are likely over 4,000 years old, longer than religion. The earliest known written versions of Greek myths date back more than 2,700 years ago and appear in the Greek poets Homer and Hesiod. However, details of the ancient tales have also been found in pottery, temples, and stone statues. For example, pottery from the 8th century BCE depicts the gods and goddesses described by Hesiod, which all their knowledge was stolen off of us. Serapis stole his knowledge from us. The Greeks stole their knowledge off of us. Facts. Right here that it was mainly influenced in Egypt in many ways, including philosophy and science. The ancient Greeks built on the knowledge of other civilizations, including Egypt and Mesopotamia, to develop their own sophisticated philosophical and scientific culture. Religion. The Greeks were fascinated by Egyptian gods and their cosmogonies, and some historians believe that the Greek religion was largely influenced by Egypt. Statues. The pose of many early Greek statues known as koros are similar as Egyptian styles, with the figures standing upright with legs slightly forward and arms held rigidly at their sides. Exactly. And other ways that Egypt influenced Greek include language, religion, and beliefs. So literally everything they learned was off of us. And I've been saying that this entire time in this video. Ancient Greeks were endlessly fascinated by Egyptian culture, and especially the Egyptian gods, whom they saw as versions of their own, make men in our image, so much that they ended up adopting Egyptian culture and customs as their own. They're literally telling you that they colonized it and they're colonizers. With all that being said and all that proof and evidence exposing how white tea people are GMO humans and they're artificial humans, and how Satan created them, genetically spliced them through us and animals, I just want to come on here to say I'm not here to spread racism, and the definition of racism is literally having power over another race, which y'all been doing to us for 6,000 years. And now I'm just here to expose that and show our people our power and what we really are and what y'all are too. And I'm not here to cause separation or hate or to bring y'all down. That was never my intention. My intention is to spread awareness and enlightenment and make us realize that we're not one species like how these oppressors lied to us. And they made it seem like we all come from the same place when we both don't come from the same place and we're not made the same genetically. And once we understand that, we can heal from all these problems and all these things going on in the world, because you must face the dark truth in order to heal. The thing is, we can still show love to each other and be cool with each other, but we don't need to live with each other. Like, we've been forced on to think that the whites and blacks need to unite. No, we don't. The blacks and Latinos can do their own thing and the whites can do their own thing. And if people want to live together with the whites and blacks, that's up to them. But to be honest, black people, white tea people, we need to create our own lands and our own civilizations and be separate from each other, because look at how the world is when we try to live together. You know what I mean? It's like trying to put monkeys and reptiles in the same place. That's literally what it is. It's dogs, wolves, sheep, and pigs put together with gods. What do you think is going to happen when an animal's put with a god? They're always going to fight and fight and fight forever. Or a reptile fighting with a dog or a wolf or a sheep. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not going to go into you and open your eyes to what's going on and how powerful our people is. And
in fact, the Africans who came out from Africa have no evidence of any Neanderthal genes in them. No evidence of admixture. So they're the real pure humans.